Yo, this is Lefty. So, I'm here for the second Cubs video of the year. We are on the off day of April 20th. So far the Cubs are 8-7. The stats I'm going to read up are before yesterday's game, and so far, the Cubs hadn't been hitting. They had been averaging less than 4 runs a game. And the last few games, they seem to have turned things around. And they're just hitting. Hayward's hitting around 300. Kris Bryant is unfortunately at a 228 clip. However, he's only struck out 15 times out of 65 plate appearances. That's a 23% contact rate. I want to see if he can get that down to 20 and then watch that batting average climb. I want to say I mentioned that in the first video. Zobrist is at 191, but he's gotten on at a 333 clip. And Kyle Schwarber, pretty much the biggest story on the offense. He's hitting about 240, 380 on base. And he struck out a lot, though, at a 36% clip. So you want to see that get down below 30%. However, even though he's striking out a lot, he is getting on base. He is setting the table. And there have been many RBI opportunities with Madden hitting the pitcher up in the eighth hole. So, as long as that ninth guy gets on, or if the seventh guy gets on, pitcher gets out, that's 1 out, Schwarber's still going to see some opportunities. So Madden brought up a good point I want to say yesterday, about Schwarber not, he's not even entertaining the idea of moving Schwarber down, mainly because the first 5 spots through the order are Schwarber lefty, Kris Bryant righty, Rizzo lefty, Zobrist switch hitter, Russell 5 hitter, and he's a righty. So you're constantly you're constantly flipping the location for the pitcher, right? So every time it's really hard to, I know that it's really hard to get a grips on things to get in a groove when you're having to readjust where you have to pitch. For a lefty, assuming the pitcher's right-handed, everything glove side is away. But then if you want to pitch outside to a righty, or hold on, if you want to pitch outside to a lefty, it's arm side. It's pitching arm side. And if you want to pitch outside to a righty, it's glove side. So those are 2 separate spots on the plate of which you want to do the exact same thing, which is pitch outside. So that's why it's hard to pitch to a flipping lineup, not to mention the added possibility, the added strength of later on in the game, managers just can't throw a lefty out there when you have back-to-back lefties coming up, or back-to-back righties coming up, they throw a righty. So that's another late inning advantage that the Cubs have that Madden doesn't want to forfeit by moving Schwarber down. So I think right about now, the Cubs are just, hitting wise, they're actually bailing out the bullpen. The bullpen has been horrendous. I want to say out of the 7 losses that the Cubs have, they've got, I want to say 5 of them have been blown by the pen. So people were saying, oh, what about the Cubs? The Cubs, They're regressed. Yeah, but the bullpen has blown it. It's not like the Cubs have been totally out of games or been totally outplayed all the time. So, in the bullpen, as most baseball people, will actually know, the bullpen is finicky. The bullpen can be good, it can be bad. It varies from year to year, from pitcher to pitcher. A lot of people give these closers and these late inning guys tons of credit for going out there year after year, as they should. However, they're the exception, they're not the rule. Most bullpen guys only last 2 or 3 years, and then for whatever reason they drop off, except for the elite of the elite. So, now, pitching-wise, we got Lester with a 1.0 ERA, Arrieta 2.89, Lackey's been about average at 4. Hendricks has scuffled. He's in a low 6s. He needs to get it together. He needs to get his arm strength up. Last April, he scuffled too. Last April, he wasn't doing that hot either. Now, granted, it wasn't as bad as this year. However, I did project a drop-off, and I said, look for an ERA in the mid-3s, and if he pitches better than what I think it is, than what I think he will, look for an ERA in the low 3s. I think by the end of the season, Hendricks will even out. He's too good, too smart of a pitcher, too composed of a pitcher to let a few bad starts get in his head. And Brett Anderson, he's a fifth starter. It doesn't really matter who you throw out there at 5, but Brett Anderson is a guy. So, he just goes up there and he doesn't impress me a whole lot, but your number 5 pitcher isn't supposed to do that anyway. So, just quick rundown of what's going on around the league. Baltimore and Boston and New York are all in the mix for the AL East top spot. Toronto, surprisingly, is 2-11. What happened there? It's a popular baseball phrase that says you can't win a division in April, but you can lose one. And starting off 2-11, you're already 5 games back. That's a lot of making up you have to do in June, July, and August. And they were a playoff team last year. So let's see what happens with that. I expect the Yankees to drop off, and I expect Boston and Baltimore to battle that out. The Sox are actually in the mix in the AL Central. I think that, because they have the top batting average guy in the AL, I think in the majors actually, but for sure in the AL, or at least one of the top guys. Avisail Garcia is on a tear right now. I think that the Sox will drop off once he cools off. I don't see them contending with Cleveland. And I think because of the AL East battle, it's going to be really hard for the Sox to do any kind of damage as a wild card team. So, Houston is already up by a few games in the AL West. Right now, you got Washington and Miami in the NL East battling it out. That should be interesting, considering Miami unfortunately lost a good pitcher when their young stud died. It's really unfortunate. I expect Washington to carry the day, though, there. And Cincinnati was 9-5 the other day. St. Louis is 5-9. I expected them to be good. I expected them to get to a good start with Dexter Fowler and just them being who they are and their reputation. I think they'll be in second place to end the year. Of course, with the Cubs being in the top spot. Cincinnati's really playing well right now. And we'll follow that. We'll see how that goes. Usually their pitching doesn't fare too well in their ballpark. And Arizona and Colorado are battling it out in the NL West. I'd really like to know how Greinke is doing after the off year he had last year. And, Colorado is 10-5 with Trevor Story hitting in the 100s. So that's kind of interesting, because what happens if he hits? Which, he seems to be a good hitter. Why not? Eventually he'll find his way out unless something happens. But, what's going to happen when that team has a good Trevor Story? That's another thing I'd like to see. So that's another thing for all of us to keep looking after for the next couple weeks, 10 days, whenever the next video comes out. And, I really expect the Cubs to turn the corner and to start dominating again. That's where I'm at right now. They're 8-7. They just had a huge walk-off victory. And I really want to see what Hendricks does, what kind of adjustments he makes, and to see exactly what happens with him. But anyway, so if you have any comments, any questions, anything you want me to go over, let me know in the comments section. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. I'm here to do sports whenever, wherever. So I'll see you next time. Lefties out.